I'm Amy.
I'm Wendell.
And I'm Patrick.
And
This is
Yes,
But Why?
Podcast. So I'm here with Patrick.
Hello.
And Wendell.
Hi.
Hi.
And they're my co-hosts here for the Yes, But Why podcast. And so thank you for being with us, Brian.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Good. I'm glad. And hey,
it's great to talk to you again, Amy. It's been a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was telling them that I met you at the training camp workshops.
Yes. I'm just seeing some updates on the Facebook this past few days, weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a new class that came through that happened in New Orleans maybe, I think, a week ago, and that was, they all had a wonderful time, you know. I saw heartfelt photos and stuff like that. I didn't get to see it, so that was sad, but it was my first time not teaching it because I was home with the baby. And also, I ended up getting a gig teaching a camp here. So I'm teaching teaching like a comedy camp. I'm teaching sketch comedy to 13-year-olds. It's really great.
That's so cool. How is the sketch comedy of the teens?
Very good, laden with heavy messages, which I think is really funny. Like they're like moral plays, which I really enjoy.
Really?
Yeah.
Like after school. Or are those old, you get home from school and they're like, hey, kids, let's talk about... Yeah, right.
Yeah, the ABC After School Special, for sure. Where you'd learn all about... They'd show you how, if you did blank, that would ruin your life. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was not what I would have expected, but that's cool to hear.
Yeah, it was
they got
really fun.
They got something to talk about, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like discrimination and...
a lot of stuff about Benghazi.
Yeah. Oh, well...
Benghazi, huh?
It's the time.
No, there's no political stuff, you guys.
Well, let's get them
about,
involved early.
It's about regular things that kids are dealing with. It's like, somebody doesn't love me, or one of them is just bad pickup lines. They just say bad.
13-year-olds have pickup lines?
Yeah, they're hilarious.
Oh, wow.
I don't think they use them. I think they're just sort of like, they're what 13-year-olds call jokes.
Hey girl, you make my spinner fidget. I don't know.
I'll think of one later in the episode.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's
I love it.
It's adorable. I was really nervous about it, but it turned out to be great.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast.
You ever teach kids, or you only teach adults?
I have not. The closest with my partner and I were looking for something to do. So I have cousins who are from like a few months. My little cousin was just born, up to 8. So my oldest cousin is 8 years old, and she was just asking us about spending some Uncle Brian and Nicole time, because every time we're home, and I'm from Cleveland, the family's all together, and she likes us, I guess. And we're like, yeah, that sounds great. We'd love to. And we're like emailing with her parents some ideas, like we could go to this, Women in Aeronautics Museum, and like we always think of positive educational things to do. And then like the last one, we're like, we could like write a play, because she has all these creative things she does, and she's like, give that, like let's write a play together. So we were working with her to write a play. So she does musicals and things, and we're like, so Nicole came up with all these prompts for her, and I don't know, we're working on this with her, and it was super fun. And then the family was all at vacation at the beach a few weeks ago, and she held auditions and cast all the parts and put on this play that it was like 10 minutes long, but it was a magical experience for me. I thought that was so fun to do this with our cousin, but not quite the same experience. But yeah, I would love to. I thought that was really just amazing how like her brain worked and how hard it was to keep her focused. But generally, she's like so creative and interesting, and like I would be interested to do more of that, but it's not really a thing that I do.
I was actually very surprised by the level of sort of like adultishness that these 13-year-olds had. Like because at first I didn't know how old they were. I was told they were teens. That's all I got. And I was like, great.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was just teaching them, and then one day they informed me in this one group that I was working in that they were all 13 except for one girl who was 16. And I was just like, huh. Okay. And that was like, their jokes were the most on point. Like, where they'd punch up an idea and it'd be the smartest move you could, and you'd be like, how do you, like, all I did was vaguely explain 3 beats. How do you get the idea of it so innately? Like, they just did such a great thing. And then I actually told the head of the camp this, because he was real excited to have a comedy part. This is the first time they're having it. And one of the kids came up to me. We were rehearsing the sketch that they had written. And he comes up to me and he goes, Miss Amy, I have to fall again. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, I only fall 2 times. I mean, if I don't fall a 3rd time, don't you think the audience is going to be disappointed? And I was like, you're right. You're totally right. And we found a place to make his character fall again. It was like, you're not wrong, Anthony. That was exactly the right move.
This was a test, and you passed, Anthony.
It was just so crazy, just this moment. But Miss Amy, shouldn't I fall again? I was like, yeah, you should.
And technically, from a higher place.
Is it true? Right. Literal heightening.
Yeah.
A bigger ladder.
Is it true?
I can't tell you
Is it true at like a theater?
Yeah, I've been working at the Georgetown Palace Theater, which is a city north of Austin. Just like takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to get there. Yeah. But it is sweet. Nice. It's a beautiful little town. The theater's in this like historic downtown section, so it looks all quaint and adorable. I feel real fancy. It reminds me of the internship that I did at Portland Stage Company, but it was it's just like small town, that kind of thing. To that end, what's the?
I grew up in small town theaters.
Tell me about them. Tell me about the small town theaters you started with.
Now it sounds like a segue, but I do. I will, but I definitely know that thing. Like I started acting when I was 8 and would do more like my parents would pay money and everyone gets a role. Like they would write a bunch of, now the emperor has 100 tailors and all this, and the kids sing along. And but eventually I guess by middle school I was doing more community theater. Because middle school I was the Artful Dodger, and that was a better role. I would be like a pirate in Peter Pan or whatever most of the time. And but those were all community theaters. Like we grew up in a way I wouldn't even call suburbs of Cleveland. It was like more rural almost. Like we had neighborhoods, and I always say my town didn't have cows, but we were next to the town with cows, so there was a lot of it was definitely more rural. But then like one theater company I did a lot with was in it was a community building, but it felt like a church, and there was a church across the street, and the reverend of that church did theater with us, and so it was like that kind of feel. And then I did another one that was a town down that was in their like municipal building, like the firemen were always there, and so they built this whole theater out of like one of those like gymnasium multi-purpose stages, but they had lighting that would rotate around, and they were real serious about it. But I feel like that's a very unique type of thing where these communities, like a lot of the plays are like what the old auntie on the board, she's always wanted to be Dolly or whatever, and so we're doing Hello Dolly, and it's these tight communities, and there's always a lot of gossiping and whatever, and I was a kid coming up through that, but even by the time I was in high school, like a lot of my friends were in theater. I was friends with a lot of older people and grown adults, and like just used to being around adults, and I feel like that both the theater and that aspect definitely had a bigger impact on my experience of childhood and growing up in that community, but definitely small town theaters that's my bread and butter. Where I came from.
Wow, that's interesting. And you're not a sociopath at all. So, like, children talking to adults, that doesn't make you want to murder everybody. This is good. This is good to know. I'm worried about it.
Well,
I got a baby now. I'm raising him. I don't, it's like, should I let him talk to Patrick? I don't know.
Never.
I think from like a 2017 lens, I think that is more scary. But like, I found it so valuable. Like Rev Kev was so great. The Reverend, he was like Billy in Anything Goes, and he was all like those kind of leads. And I also had, I grew up good friends with the one of 3 out gay people in my high school, and I was just talking to a friend of mine about this here. Like, one of the guys he's in a bunch of shows at one of those 2 places was, a 40s gay man whose partner then they could not be married, but was getting deported back to Canada and was like super broken up about this. And I think my experience of like, I was around people who had like real shit to deal with, more than like, then I'd go back to school and my friends in school were assholes. I hung out with like just shitty boys in high school that I'm not proud of things I would say and do with them because they were shitty people. But like
high school,
I think it gave me this weird kind of good perspective on like what's important and what, and they have experience in life. Like I think they didn't turn me into monsters. They turned me into like a human being.
Like a responsible adult. Interesting. Excellent.
I hope so. I mean, it still took a while for that stuff to sink in, but I do. I think it was net positive.
Good. Yeah. So you said you grew up in Cleveland. This town that you're talking about is outside of Cleveland?
I grew up in a township called Bainbridge, Ohio, which is no one would ever know. But yeah, and I did theater in these small towns near, like Bainbridge didn't have theater, but my parents would drive me 20 or 40 minutes away. And yeah, by the time I was in high school, I did some semi-professional theater and I did various things. Like I'd drive around town and do theater all over, but more of these things were, just these small town community theaters. And yeah, they're all way out east and outside of Cleveland.
Did you
probably like 45 minutes from the city.
When you were in high school, did you like audition for real plays at like actual theaters and not just do high school theater?
So I never did school theater at my high school because it was terrible. Now they built this beautiful stage, but yeah, like it would be like literally our costumes were in a box under the teacher's desk all year, and they did one musical a year. And so until my senior year, that teacher left the school, and I went to our principal and was like, "Hey, I'll direct a show for free, and you don't have to hire another drama person." And he was like, "Okay." And so I got to direct a play. I did Harvey, which I still enjoy. But I never really did theater in my high school, so I just did these community theater things. But I did. So I auditioned. It depends what you mean by real theater. It was mostly these community theater.
Yeah, community theater. I mean, it wasn't like your high school teacher put you in a play.
Right. And I did do a small amount of more real theater, but yeah, mostly these community theater plays. Yeah.
So in the we're talking, you're a teenager. Were there any other teenagers involved at this community theater, like at all?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the musicals I did, especially the summer musicals where I kind of started, were a lot of people my age. Okay. And then during the year were more shows that were mixed ages all across the board. When I would meet a variety of different people. But the other thing about community theater is they tend to cast more age appropriately, right? So I was like Artful Dodger or whatever, but, so the summer shows would be all kids, so we'd get to play adults. But most of the other shows, like I had to play kids roles. Like I played, I can't remember. I was in the Sound of Music. I hate that musical, but I was the 16-year-old boy, and I would play a lot of roles that were my age. There's like a lot of the, if you're in high school, you play whatever Danny Zuko, or you play these like
Indeed.
Older people, which I didn't do as much of.
I was going to say, did you play Danny Zuko?
No, I hate that too.
Oh.
I mean, I was in a lot of musicals I don't like, but no, I can't stand Grease.
Oh, all right.